Hi, I'm Dhruvi Shah and I lead Axis Bank Foundation. The foundation was set up by Axis Bank in 2006 to meaningfully drive societal change. With few years of our experience and travels into the hinterlands of the country, we realized the significance of the challenges that rural communities face. In 2010, we introduced a rural livelihood support program. In the last 10 years, we have worked with several like-minded not-for-profit organizations who have helped us reach 1.7 million households across the country. We've enabled opportunities for small and marginal farmers and landless people to boost their incomes. We've supported projects on natural resource management, livelihood enhancement, linkages to finance, access to markets, and much more. What ties all of this together is the dream of independence. To make sure the communities that we work with today don't need us tomorrow. And we are doing this by harnessing the power of those very communities. From farmer cooperatives to self-help groups, we believe in building collectives to drive prosperity. Many of these collectives are now taking charge of village development and planning. They're also nurturing new local leaders, training cadre of volunteers and community resource people to lead program implementation. These people are the ones you see on the ground, making local resources available, protecting the environment and supporting livelihoods. We believe in giving power to local people because they know what's best for them and for their community. Just as our communities are stronger together, we work in partnership with outstanding organizations on the front lines of rural development. We look at two qualities in our partners. Firstly, we prize organizations that have deep local and sector knowledge, robust systems and processes that have been built over many years. We support them to scale and give them a larger canvas for their work. Secondly, we look for organizations that believe in empowering people and help them stand on their own feet. To paraphrase this, the old saying, "Don't give man a fish, teach him how to fish." Our partners thus create a complete ecosystem that nurtures strong, self-reliant people capable of managing interventions on their own. Over the past decade, we've had the privilege to work with some outstanding organizations, and we would not have come this far without them. Together, we know we have made a difference in the lives of people, and we have big plans in the future. 2018, we launched a Mission 2 Million to support 2 million households by 25, and we are on course to achieve that. This is not just a number. Each of these households has their own struggle, their own hopes, and dreams for a better future. So today I want to go beyond the numbers and tell you remarkable stories. Stories of courage, determination, imagination and sheer will. The stories of people whose spirit is the reason that we are here today. We start in the heart of India, the district of Dindori in Madhya Pradesh. This is where Rani Durga Devi Tejaswini Mahila Sangh, it's a women-led federation, is located. We started supporting the federation in 2015, promoting several activities, agriculture, agri-allied, financial inclusion. Today the federation supports about 516 self-help groups in about 40 villages. When you talk to these women, you will be amazed to see how far they have come. Women who had no bank account, had no avenues to save, are now on the frontliners of promoting livelihood activities, savings, financial literacy. Many of them were once struggling for money even to buy seeds for Kharif, living one day to the next. But when we recently visited, we saw the women had prepared a 5-year vision for their community. What surprised us is the clarity of their vision. Their plan included boosting livelihood activities for women, creating women leaders, improving health and nutrition for their family, increasing membership in the self-help groups, leveraging all the government programs that are there for them, and registering land documents in women's name. Now here were a group of ordinary women doing extraordinary things, triggering a chain reaction of development. And this is the thought that animates us as ABF. In every woman, we see not just their present capability, but the future potential. The women are drivers for their own development. When ordinary people are powered with right tools and knowledge, they can do remarkable things. Our role is simply to identify them, equip them with the right tools and give them a platform for the vision, and they will take it from here. Just as you cross the border into Gujarat, you'll come to a district called Dahod. Now, Dahod is a predominantly tribal region, extremely drought prone, and then at one point, majority of the population migrated as casual labor, as construction labor, due to the water crisis. So about 7 years ago, we started working on a very comprehensive watershed development project and agriculture enhancement activities. The watershed project included watershed structure, organizing communities for irrigation, water management, and so on and so forth. Recently, when we were interacting with the community, a very elderly woman in the group came forward and said that the water is reuniting the families and rebuilding the whole fabric of the community. She explained that at some point, only old people and children remained in the villages, whereas the entire young population was away. But with access to water, people had started returning and settling back in the village. From taking one crop in the year, they were taking 2 crops. From just crops, they had moved on to floriculture, to horticulture, and to vegetable cultivation. All of this started providing a lot of cash income for the family. Most households now have access to water not only for irrigation, but also for drinking water at home. The woman also said that earlier women used to travel about 5-6 kilometers for drinking water, and even children. And today, there is drinking water in the villages and children are able to go to school. What we've learned is that access to water can trigger a series of changes in livelihood activities. The agriculture output increases, you can manage livestock, and the income goes up. Eventually, the migration decreases. People still migrate, but that's more out of aspiration than distress. It's not just access to water, but it's also about managing the resources in the manner that water is available throughout the year. It is about building capacity and creating awareness. That is why we invest in development of resources, preservation and conservation that support livelihood activities. Across India, in the states that we work, whether it's Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, by helping solve the water crisis, we have helped increase farm productivity, give women more opportunities, rebuild families and rebuild communities. To see this ripple effect in action, let's go across to Yavatmal to meet another incredible woman. So Sita Devi is a single mother of 2. After losing her husband, she largely relied on earnings from a small plot of land, besides doing odd jobs as a farm labor. She was struggling to make her ends meet and she had joined an SHG. Through the SHG, she was introduced to the concept of Wadi, which is a horticulture plot or a horticulture farm. She started cultivating papaya on her land and her fortune started changing. Over the next 5 years, horticulture became her main source of income. For the first time in her life, she had begun to save money. And soon she was able to save enough to buy a 2-wheeler for her daughter to help her go to college in the nearest town. With no other form of viable transport in the village, the scooter became a lifeline for the daughter, who helped her complete her college education. When we recently met them, we asked her about the plans for the future, and we expected the daughter to say that she was moving to a bigger city for a well-paying job, but no. She told us she wanted to come back to the village and teach at the local school. She wanted to help other young girls dream like her. See, this is the beauty of this ripple effect. A single mother joins an SHG, she builds her own livelihood. She's able to send her daughter to college, and now the daughter wants to come back and help other people in the community. And in time, they will be able to help yet more people and the circle keeps expanding. So we are able to achieve this kind of impact because we just don't build assets, but we build an ecosystem in which these assets can function. And to see how that works, let's head over to Rajasthan, the historic district of Alwar. So one of the women who we met is a 24-year-old Sakina, who was once barely able to make her ends meet, rearing 4 goats to support her family. When those goats started falling ill, she feared the worst. She had no other source of income. Then through the self-help group, she was introduced to the Pashu Sakhis, or Paravet, or what the local women simply call as the Dr. Didi. The Pashu Sakhis are trained in preventive care and livestock management. They're supported by a network of paravets and community livestock facilitators. In Sakina's case, the Pashu Sakhi and the local livestock facilitator demonstrated better management practices to her. They helped her build a clean goat shed, arranged for worming, deworming and vaccinations, and providing nutrition food. The goats gradually recovered, and due course, the livestock facilitator and Pashu Sakhi helped Sakina get a fair price for them. In Sakina's words, the doctor Didi ne kaam sab acha kar diya. Today, Sakina, who once faced destitution, owns a herd of 40 goats, and that give her a substantial income. She is debt-free. She sends children to a local private school. She has a Pakka house with a DTH connection. And above all, she's won the respect of her family, who now involve her in every major decision they take. Sakina's story shows us that how we create strong, self-reliant people capable of managing without external support. That's our goal at ABF, to make them ready for a life without us. But for that, you can't just build assets, you have to build an ecosystem in which they can thrive. That was another lesson that we learned very early on in Madhya Pradesh, where a series of biogas plants were installed in several homes. For a while, there was tremendous success. The women had to fetch lesser firewood from the forest. But then the results began to tail off. On a follow-up visit, we found that the plants had fallen to despair because there was no local person available to repair them. What was provided as a solution is train a local youth in repairing the biogas plants, and so that they can remain functional. So that was our learning, that when you build an asset, you also need to provide enablers that are required for it to operate, function, and therefore sustain. So next we travel to a village near Bokaro in Jharkhand to meet Deepak. Deepak is a remarkable young man, one of the few in the villages who chose to stay back rather than migrate. So we met Deepak at his little electrical store called Deepak Electronics. Holi was coming up, so apart from the obvious items, bulbs, cables, plugs and switches, he was also selling Holi colors, water guns and balloons. But that wasn't all. His shop was located near a school, and he would also sell notebooks, pens and pencils for the school children. In Diwali, he would sell crackers and clothes as per the demand from the village. He was also the village electrician. When we asked about this seasonal product offering, Deepak pointed out that the village did not have enough demand for electricals to support a standalone shop, so he had diversified. During his training period with the project, he had gone to visit markets in the local nearby cities. And he noticed that there were a variety of products available in multiple stores, which were not available in his village. So he decided to expand into those categories through his one store. Through the project, he was facilitated to get a loan. He received training on how to manage accounts, how to price his products, and even soft skills for marketing. So through these learnings, he was able to create a viable model. He's very popular in the village as he connects people with things they need. He's developed a deep understanding of the local market and the needs of his consumers. He even hires local youth as assistants. So it also tells us that entrepreneurship in rural India can create more jobs. If we harness the innate intelligence of people with a little support and hand-holding, communities can thrive. Once you seed this idea, people will do what it takes to stand on their own feet. Now, while we are an ambitious organization, we're also pragmatic about our role. We always strive to do our utmost, but our resources alone are not adequate for the kind of outcomes we all desire. The funds required come from many sources: grants, bank credit, community contribution, and most of all, funds from various government programs that are designed for this purpose. We use our fund as a catalyst and invest in areas where we can make the highest difference. The more we listen to our partners, the more we realize that they're all facing a big challenge in getting the right kind of funds at the right time. So we've invested heavily in measures to unlock these funds on time and to equip communities to leverage all the programs better. To give you a little context, in the last decade, we would have spent close to about 600 crores, and the funds that have been unlocked by this investment are probably 5 times that amount. That's how holistic development happens, when all the social investments work in sync. Now, this kind of change takes time. When you consider the number of stakeholders involved, the unique complexities of each location, and the scale of the problems we tackle. So patience is essential, and to see the fruit of that patience, let's head back to Madhya Pradesh to a village called Sevanpani. It's a tribal settlement about 60 kilometers from Indore. When we first started working here, most of the land was unsuitable for cultivation due to its rocky terrain, red soil, and lack of a perennial water source in the village. It was almost a forgotten village. What started initially was a watershed development program to help reverse land degradation, have access to water, reduce crop failure, and gradually improve productivity with multiple crop cultivation. It was a long process to get permission from landowners, permission from forest authorities to start the watershed development work. Villagers were organized into water user groups to maintain the structures and regulate the usage. Over time, farmers began to see the yield grow as much as 5-fold. They were able to diversify into crops like wheat, soya, and pulses. They no longer had to migrate for work as before, and they'd gone from subsistence farming to be able to produce surplus and therefore sell their produce. What they needed now was affordable credit to further these investments. Through an SHG initiative, we were able to provide accessible credit to women, breaking the stranglehold of the local money lenders. In 2013, we helped them further diversify their income through a poultry program. About 15 poultry sheds came up, along with the loan-based packages, to help women buy livestock, feed, infrastructure, and learn scientifically proven rearing methods. Paravet were deployed to vaccinate and treat the birds and the curb mortality. The success encouraged another 50-60 families to start doing poultry. The once illiterate villagers are now using the newfound prosperity to make sure that the children get the education. Many of the youths are now graduated and are taking government jobs. Sevanpani is no longer a forgotten village. It has water, it has a high productivity, it has a rising literacy rate, and a community that has come together for a collective good. But it's taken a decade to achieve this change, building up from each intervention to the next, from water to higher productivity, to credit, to diversification. You cannot rush this process because success of each step determines the success of the next with a long-term vision that is required to make all of this come together. To understand what we mean, let's head to Dangs in Gujarat. During a visit, we got to speak to some of the youth in the village, and we realized many of them are very keen to start their own enterprises. We pivoted the program to encourage development of micro enterprises by supporting them with idea development, business planning, mentorship, marketing, exposure visits, and sales. The willingness to adapt to the local needs is central to the way we work at ABF. We're always ready to listen to our partners and to our communities. We believe they have critical insights and their ideas and learnings are valuable. The ethos of listening is ingrained in the very way we work at ABF. We travel frequently to familiarize ourselves with people, the community, the culture, to understand their challenges and aspirations. We believe listening is a key to building relationships. Relationships inspire people to take risks and dream bigger. Let's go over to Chhattisgarh to meet this very remarkable couple, Pawan Kumar and his wife Meena Devi. Pawan and Meena are marginal farmers. They cultivate paddy in Kharif, mostly subsistence. Each year after the harvest, Pawan would leave the family behind and head to the city in search of work as a daily wage labourer. This struggle is true for most marginal families across. The reliance on a single source of income giving them little security. Pawan's wife Meena started attending a self-help group meeting in the village where she was encouraged to try something new. She took a small loan from the self-help group and started rearing poultry in her backyard. With the help of the Pashu Sakhi, she was able to procure chicks, build a shelter and get it vaccinated. The Pashu Sakhi also helped her for the sale of eggs and poultry, and all of this brought in a little extra income for the family. And it also helped enhance the diet at home. Gradually the income grew and so did her confidence with it. Again through the SHG, she learned a new technique of vegetable cultivation. She further motivated Pawan to start cultivating vegetables, dividing their land for paddy and vegetables. They procured high quality seeds and introduced trellis farming to boost the yields. As the productivity improved, even Pawan became confident enough to start cultivating other cash crops. In 2 years, they had converted that land into many forms of reliable sources of income. Seeing Meena Devi, many other women in the village began to take risk and take on to the new sources of income. This is what we mean by diversification of income, a basket of livelihoods. Just one source of income is not enough. You will need to have multiple sources. This is our way of creating resilient households and resilient communities. Finally, our biggest asset at ABF is the trust we enjoy amongst the people with whom and for whom we work. We realized this more than ever during the pandemic. Despite a breakdown in travel and communication around the country, our engagement with our partners and their engagement with the community continued. We all improvised, from raising awareness on COVID through technology, to support returning migrants with Narega job cards, to providing dry rations, aggregating farm produce, facilitating sales. All this was enabled due to the inherent trust that has been built over many years between us, our partners, and the communities. This was a real test of resilience, responsibility, and participation, and they rose to the occasion. We dedicate the first decade of our journey to these pioneers who have stood up for their communities and inspired us with their imagination and courage. They've placed their faith in us, and it's thanks to people like them that we've now reached out to 1.7 million households. We are here for them, and as we look at the next decade, we hope we'll continue to make them proud.